Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. We are just coming off of the 2020 Olympic Games and here to discuss what he saw and from his side on the broadcast station. Today, we are talking to Olympic champion and sprinting icon, Cesar Cielo.
Hey, Coleman, thanks for having me again. It's always a pleasure to be here with you.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And like I mentioned, you were behind the microphone this time around for Tokyo. You were broadcasting in Brazil. So let's start there. Can you take me through your week and just what it was like being on the other side of these Olympic Games?
Oh man, it was hard. It was hard because we did everything from Rio. So we had to adjust the time change being in Brazil. So it was at the beginning was very tough because I didn't really know what to expect as far as the TV responsibilities. And man, going live on TV is crazy because you don't know what's coming. Like it's like sometimes you're just there in a hotel and they were like, okay, you got to get in 15 minutes. I was like, oh my God, man, like my hair is looking crazy. I just woke up. Like, what's going on? So it's different than what we see on TV, but most of all, I think the harder part was to get the times right, because I feel like my week got much better once I started sleeping during the day and kind of getting into the Tokyo time, even though I was still in Brazil. So I was working from like 10:30 until 1 a.m. for the finals, and then we were starting the prelims around 7 a.m. So, but the TV people, man, they want us to get there so early. So they were getting me at the hotel around like 5 a.m., sometimes like 4:45. And I was like, I'm getting back to the hotel around 1:30, and I was pumped after the final, man. You can't sleep.
Right.
And I was going to bed like, I don't know, like 2:30 or 3 a.m. and sometimes getting up at 5. But once I got that thing of not sleeping anymore at night and just going, to bed after I was done with the prelims was much, much easier. I felt like my mood got better. The workflow was much better. But it was interesting, man. It was interesting to see the swimming from the spectator side and how crazy the 53 was. I don't remember, man, getting so nervous like for a 53. I think I was more nervous before this 53 in the 100 freestyle than I actually was when I was swimming. So it was very interesting to be part of the broadcast and to learn from some of the best commentators here in Brazil. And man, it was like being in an Olympic village of legends, because we had so many guys there, man. Like whenever we were going through to the studio, like I saw the Olympic gold medalists from the beach volleyball from the 96 Olympics. And then like 2 minutes later, well, I would see the long distance, like the distance jump champion from the Beijing Games. So it was like being in a village with a bunch of retired athletes. It was a lot of fun.
That sounds great. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of fans or casual spectators don't realize the hours that covering an Olympic Games takes. And like you said, it's like especially with the games being in Tokyo, it's just such a big time adjustment, and you're kind of all over the place. That was certainly my experience. You were staying up late and then waking up early and then trying to find some time to sleep during the day. It was, it got better as the week went on, but those first few days were pretty rough, and I was pretty cranky.
Yeah. I mean, you just start to get, man, rude with everybody because I mean, you're just not sleeping. And man, we used a lot of makeup, man. It's I have to say this on the podcast, but it's true, man. We were looking like panda bears, like at the end of the week, like with our eyes all black. So it was hard, but I think overall it was amazing. I think we needed this, man. And it was way too long of a time without any like big big major meets. So it was interesting. It was fun to watch. It was fun to see fast swimming. And man, I feel different now. I was like, before the Olympics, everybody was talking about everything that's going on in the world, and now I feel like, man, we've done it. We're ready. We're learning how to live in the current times with those problems that we have. But man, it was a lot of fun and very, very important for the sport.
Agreed. I think especially for those athletes, just getting a taper meet, getting to perform on that biggest stage. I mean, I know you stay in shape. I know you stay in the pool. Did seeing that 50 free spark anything?
It was hard, man, because I had to watch Bruno and to see what he was going to do in the race. And at the same time, I'm not going to lie, I was watching Caeleb and being like, oh my God. But I said goodbye on TV both times. Before the 100 free, I told the TV, I was like, man, goodbye to my record. This is it. He's going to break it. And he didn't break it. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to be sad about it. Okay. I was like, I really believed he was going to break it. And then in the 50 free, I was like, okay, guys, again, second time. And this time I think it's going to happen. And, but it was an outstanding race. I don't know what he did in the first 25, man. It was probably the most explosive 25 in swimming history. When the camera opened up to see around the 35-meter mark, and I saw the record line on his shoulders, I was like, Jesus, man, is he going 20.5? Like, what is going on here? And but I think in the end, he still has a great shot, to break that record anytime he wants. And I think it was a very tough week for him. I mean, just leaving the 50 free in the end, man, it's tough. And he has a crazy schedule. And he was the only one that swam all of those finals too. I mean, nobody else swam the 100 freestyle for that matter. We had a few years ago, we had so many guys doing the 50 and 100 free. And now it seems like it's just the 50 for 95% of the final. Yeah. And Caeleb, I mean, he still popped a great first 25. I think that was the most impressive part of the race for me, because I thought he was going to be tired. As a sprinter, I saw his schedule and I was like, oh man, like I don't know how I would swim that race, because I felt like he was going to be like just tired, without any explosiveness. And man, he popped a great race, 21:07. And I think he had more if he had, a couple of more days of rest. So very, very impressive. And I mean, his Olympics were amazing, man. What can you say? He swam a 47.0, 21.0, and a 49.4. And we can say it now. It was with not a bad turn, but not an ideal turn and not an ideal finish. So, man, he has a 49.1 inside of him right now. Like it's insane to think like that. Like, I said that on the broadcast. I was like, man, the most impressive part of the 100 fly was he broke the record, and he still has so much more. Like he has a better turning, he has a better finish in him. So we saw that 49.0 in the relay, and I think he can pop something like that with a flat start.
Agreed. It's always fun seeing him on relays, just because it's like, well, how much does a relay swing really help him, because his start is so effective.
Correct.
Already.
Yeah, exactly.
That it's like, okay,
exactly.
It's different than comparing most athletes who are like, okay, they definitely get that full advantage on a relay.
So it was tough to see, man. I'm not gonna lie, it was tough to see him just anchoring the mixed relays. I really didn't get that strategy that the US coaches wrote for that relay. It was something that I was like, man, what is going on? Like he's not gonna catch 7 seconds behind some other relays. And it was interesting. I think honestly, that's one of the things that kind of really disturb the explosion that he kind of has in his body, because every race, man, drains you down. Every race takes your energy out. And he went a 46.9, like I almost felt like it was for nothing. I was like, oh man, I feel for him, because there was nothing he could do. And I didn't understand why he didn't do the fly leg, and but in the end, I mean, he has to be, you know, very satisfied and very happy with his Olympics. And I mean, the best swimmer in the Olympics by far, and probably is going to be one of the biggest names of the entire games.
Yeah, I obviously he had a big program, and like you said, every swim takes something out of you, right? And you had big Olympic programs, and you also competed in the NCAA where you would have, you know, I don't, like 13 events in 3 days or something. And I'm curious as to how you handled schedules like that, where you were having so many swims in such a short time frame, because you swam the same events as he did: 50 free, 100 fly, 100 free. And you know, and when you were doing it, you would break records often in a lot of those swims. How how did you manage having all those swims in such a short period of time, and what did you see from him as we moved through these games?
Well, as for me, I would say like just following the routine, that the schedule really that you just write down with your coach and with your, you know, massage therapist and physical therapy. It's very important. You have to get some rub downs, you have to use some compression boots, everything that you can to recover your body. The NCAAs were harder because the meet is so fast.
Mhm.
But I think also the races are shorter too. I mean, we're talking about 18 seconds in Caeleb's case 17, but but we're talking about 18 seconds in 40. And in yards is different too. I mean, short course is easier than long course when it comes to recovery. I always felt like the long course takes more out of your muscle, and the short course takes more out of your lungs. Like it feels like it's harder on the breath for the short course, and it's harder on the body for long course. So long course, I mean, when I saw his schedule, I was like, man, like just trying to picture myself doing that. I was like, I don't know how he's going to handle like 5 days of straight up 100% sprints, like long course hundreds and relays and everything. And for me, it was just getting that routine like done all the time. After the race, it's like, okay, just get as fast as you can out of the mixed zone, go to the massage, go to the ice tub, go to the swim down pool, just get that stuff done, and be careful with your eating too. What you're hydrating, how you're eating, that's very important too. And some of the meets like the Olympics and World Championships, I would take with me some power bars and some fruits, like in the pockets of my jacket to the race, so I could eat while I was doing interviews. So it's like, okay, I don't want to miss any time. Like I'm going to be hydrated, I'm going to be eating something, because before the race, we wait for, I don't know, like 1 hour and a half, 2 hours to race without eating anything. So we have a light body, nothing in our stomach. And so once the race was done, I was like, okay, I got to eat something. I got to, you know, hydrate well. I got to take care of my body. And those are the details that you have to be really careful, because, you know, if you don't do that for, you know, 3, 4, 5 days, you know, after, you know, the second, third day, you're going to start to feel more tired, because you're not taking care of your body in general. It's not just the massage, it's not just the ice stuff, but you got to eat something too. So it's really paying attention to every detail you can to, you know, just get your body ready. It's like almost working with a machine, man. You gotta look at your body like a car. Like, what do you need? You need gasoline. You need now you need to rest and just, you know, take care of the, you know, the other part. So it's looking at every detail you can, and being very careful with doing that stuff. So if you need to eat, find a way to eat. You know, don't wait for another 30 minutes after the race, or until you get to the massage area or anything like that. You can go ahead and take care of those things beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we hear that a lot. And I think there's probably a reason for it. It makes a lot of sense. But yeah, you hear a lot of athletes, especially now, talking about how the importance of that recovery. Do you feel like that doing those doubles, those back-to-back events in the NCAA format really helped you to be able to do doubles like that at a world championships or Olympic games?
Not really, man, because the NCAAs, I feel like the more you compete, the better you get, because you start to work more on details like turns and starts, and they are so important in short course yards. I felt like it was almost like a different planet when we went to the long course world championship level. So it's, I mean, the schedule, the meet is completely different. The times and how much time it takes, for you to get to the podium, and how much the ceremony takes. So everything goes into account, and it changes everything comparing to the NCAAs. But I mean, when you're younger, it's easier too. I felt like back in Auburn, I was, I don't know, 18, 19, and 20-year-old, the 3 years I swam there. And I swam a bunch of events until 2011 when I was 24. I really felt I started to get more tired as far as like losing my explosion when I was around 26, 27 years old. I felt like Barcelona was the time where I felt like, honestly, like London was like, okay, this is too much. I can't do the 100 and the 50 straight up. Like I need a day or two like of nothing. Like I need to get back to zero again. And that schedule for the sprinters is tough now, because I mean, you have the 100 fly, you have the 100 free, you have the 50 free, like in straight days. So they never get to really go back to the 100% of rest and just feeling fresh again. But somehow Caeleb found a way, man. He found a way to manage all of those races, because I mean, he's racing Christoph Milak in the 100 fly. I mean, he was out of the 2 fly, but he's a 2 flyer, man. So I don't know if he gets tired at all. And then he raced Chalmers, which was there just for the 100 freestyle. And then he got all of those 50 freestylers that were there just for the 50. So he was the only one just going and crushing everything. So it was very impressive. And I think, we just have to learn from him what he's doing after his races, how he's taking care of his leaping, because he found a way to keep his body just fresher than we did in the past. So it's important, not just for the sprinters, for everybody else to keep, that routine and that body ready to go for, an entire week of a meet.
Yeah, I will be excited to sit down with him at some point. Hopefully we get the chance to. Speaking of the 50 free, and you mentioned Bruno. He's the oldest guy to win his first Olympic medal in swimming. He got his bronze in the 50 freestyle. I think he has told me he's going to be done after this, but that's not official or anything. But, what were your thoughts on seeing him win his first Olympic medal at 32?
It was amazing, man. I mean, it was long overdue for him, and he needed his career. It's almost, I can say his career deserved it, because I mean, it was such a beautiful career, with 3 straight medals at world championships in long course. And I mean, he almost got one in London. Then he had back problems in 2016 for the Rio Games. So I mean, then the COVID-19 started. So it was like, man, oh my God, how much more can you overcome to do what you want? And he found a way, man. So we are very proud of him on how he handled everything, and on how resilient he was, because he tried it, man. He tried his best, and in the end, it's a beautiful ending. It's a beautiful story, and I think now he can sleep with a lighter head, man, like satisfied with his life and his career, because that's what he wanted the most. And he swam a tough final with the fastest guy in the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and an Olympic champion in lane 5. So it's always hard to be in that final, and he found a way to touch, in the top 3 in the last 5 years. So we are very proud of him, and more than that, we're super happy for him, man. That's what he wanted, and he worked his ass off to get to this result.
Were there any races that surprised you, or anything just watching the races as opposed to, being an athlete on deck in the meet? Was there anything that surprised you about just getting to be on that other side, or anything that stuck out for you?
Well, what I've learned in the very first day, Coleman, I can say that you kind of have to separate yourself from the swimmer on the deck to the person on the television, because the emotions and the thoughts that we have sometimes are too technical for TV. And sometimes, I mean, when we're watching race on deck, it's like, oh my God, you're just screaming and going crazy, and you're talking to your friends. And over there, I had to kind of hold myself back a lot of times. But some of the races were amazing, man. The very first day, that 400 freestyle, I mean, that was probably, if I had to rank like the moments of swimming, like the best moments of swimming, I would say the 400 freestyle is probably up there. What a story from Mohamed. I mean, in lane 8, he was, I think, 16th or 17th before the Olympics started. I mean, and then we got to his Instagram account. The guy has one post, and I was like, man, what a beautiful story, man. I mean, this is a guy that is just like out of the social media. He had no chance before the Olympics, but he took advantage, and he found a way to win. It was a beautiful moment. But if I had to say the most impressive race of all, the one that really is still stuck with me, man, is the 4x200 freestyle for the women's side. Oh my God, what was that, man? It was beautiful executed. I mean, from start to finish, that was a lesson for us on how to swim relays, because, well, I never got to swim the 4x2, obviously, but it was beautiful to see the Chinese girls just getting in, they got the lead most of the time in the first 50, but you saw them holding back. It's like, once you're leading the relay, man, you turn on your rear view mirrors and you control the race. You throw your strategy away, and you're just like, okay, this is a different game. Now it's about controlling the race. And all of them did that. I mean, we saw them leading in the first 50, then the Aussies and the Americans kind of getting into them in the 100 and in the 150, and then they would close hard in the last 50 all the time, every single one of them. So it was beautiful. The execution was amazing, man. That race was one of those races that is just like, okay, this is what it takes to be an Olympic champion, man. This kind of level, and all of the relays were about to break the world record too. So the level of the performance that race brought was a different game for comparing to most of the races that we saw, because I think some of the times that we saw some races were not too fast, but this is what happens when you don't compete for a year. It's very hard to be there, and after a year of almost nothing, you're behind an Olympic block. So it's tough, man. It's tough to just to be in that position, and some people manage way better than the others, and that relay, man, that really was special. I think we're going to talk about the execution and how the Chinese girls did for a long time, because from start to finish, that race was theirs, and it was beautiful.
I'm so glad you brought that relay up. That was, I think, one of, if not my favorite race of the games for that reason, right? You had the heavy favorite in the Australian women, who on paper just couldn't lose. And then, just China got out to an early lead, and then every leg was just consistent, especially if you look at the splits on paper. China didn't have maybe their lead off, but they didn't have an insane split. Like, we had Katie Ledecky's 153 that really got the Americans into it, but China was just super consistent, and they maintained all the way through. But I hadn't thought of that point before, is that what you said of once they got the lead, it was just like, okay, well, forget everything else. We're just keeping this. And looking back on it, you can really see how that played out with how they swim.
But imagining doing that when you see Ledecky 2 lanes away from you. So, I mean, it was like the 4x2, but I think it was, I don't know if it was 2000 or 2004 when Cleet Keller got in the water and Torp just came in the first 50 like a train, and then he just held Torp back. So I was like, okay, now you might catch me in the first 50, but I'm controlling the race. So it was beautiful, man. When I saw Ledecky, I'm gonna be honest, I saw the underwater shot and I was like, did she forget it's a 200? I was like, oh my God, man, she went out like crazy. I was like, oh my God, is she gonna speed like a 150 or something? Because she was going fast. But I mean, she never dies anyway, man. She goes out fast. She comes back. It was a beautiful race, man. It was a shame for the US to not be able to catch it, but as for the Chinese, outstanding performance.
Yeah, and yeah, it's like that's a race where I, as an American, like I can't even be mad, right? Exactly. We won silver because it's like you have 3 teams under the world record, and there was so many lead changes, and it was such a surprising finish that it's just like this was a great performance of athleticism. And just to get to witness it was magnificent. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one other relay that was interesting too, and I was kind of cheering for the Canadian girls in the 4x1 medley, because I mean they had an amazing team too. On paper, they really looked really good, but the Aussies, man, I really thought they were going to win all of the relays on the women's side, and they kind of missed the mark on the 4x2. But I mean, their team was way too good, man. The Aussie girls in this Olympics were one step ahead of everybody.
They really were, and it's I was telling someone, I think that again, from an American perspective, this makes it more fun for me. It's I don't think it's as cool when you just have America coming in and winning a bunch of medals, and it's like, okay, yeah. It's like when you have real powerhouses like Australia. On the women's side, we had Britain on the men's side in the relays this time. It's like that are really pushing everyone to kind of elevate their top game. Then it's a lot more interesting to see, because you don't know the outcome of the races. It's like we had so many Ariarne versus Katie, and Kaylee McKeown versus Regan Smith, and Emma McKeon in everything she swam.
She was the other one with a crazy schedule, man. What a crazy career she's had. I mean, now she's the biggest Australian swimmer, as far as Olympic medals, and it's amazing what she's done in Tokyo. It's remarkable.
And it's cool because obviously now she will stand out because she won 7 Olympic medals in 1 Games, the most. I think that it's tied for the most of any woman.
I think she tied for the most. She passed that German from the 80s, the girl that won 6 medals. I think Christine Otto, I think is her name. But I think she tied with the most from the women's side. So she's the new Michael Phelps of swimming.
Right. Yeah. But then you look at her track record from like the last 4 or 5 years, and it's like, she's done that at most other meets, like World Championships, Commonwealth Games, Pan Pacific champs. It's like she's been doing that. So to see it build up to that, and then to see her get that, pretty special. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if I had to say like one thing that I saw from her that was probably one of the most important things was her consistency, man. She just did not swim. I'm trying to remember one race, even for the prelims, she did not swim bad one time. All of her races were super consistent, super, with a technique, beautifully executed. Her freestyle, man, the underwater shots, you could see the body position, you could see the head position looking at the bottom of the pool. Like whenever she was taking a breath, like everything was just in such a harmony. And that 23.8 was one of those races where it was beautiful to see, because like I didn't see any mistakes in it. And it's one of those races that you're just like, oh my God, man, like this is this is a class. Like I'm sitting here and I'm like, she's teaching us how to swim because technique, her technique was beautiful. Her freestyle was on point, man. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agreed. I mean, after seeing her 100 fly, which was, again, I think it just got overshadowed a little just because she didn't touch first. But it's like, oh, she had a really good swim in that, but it's like it was a best time. It's right on the world record, so it's like you kind of knew she was on form. But then after a few relay swims, getting to see her individual 150, it's like, oh man, that those were, she almost got better as the meet went on.
Yep. Yeah, somehow, man. Somehow, I don't know how those sprinters are doing nowadays, man. They're finding ways to recover well, and they're keeping, that explosion for almost the entire week. So I think, it was remarkable for her, for the Australian swimming, and she's gonna be forever remembered, as the girl that won 7 medals in one edition of the Olympic Games.
Yeah. So one question I have for you is in Beijing in 2008, I'm pretty sure they also did finals in the morning. So from your perspective, what was that like, just, having that flip-flopped competition schedule? And did you see anything play out, having prelims at night and finals in the morning at this meet?
I think it was pretty obvious that we saw the swimmers got better, once the meet started. I mean, the first and the second days, we saw sometimes in the prelims, and we were like, okay, the games are on, people are swimming fast. And then we saw a lot of races where they swim, slower in the semifinals. And I was like, man, it was interesting because I was like, man, what's going on? Like some of the times were slower than the prelims. And I remembered, I was like, oh my God, it's just because I'm doing the finals here in Brazil at night. I was like, I forgot it's Tokyo, man. And it's tough, man. I'm gonna tell you that in Beijing, like it was hard to go to bed. It was tough to go to sleep thinking that you had to wake up. And when it's something that, your competitive side wants to just take over when it comes to those meets, and you kind of want to wake up and ready to go. But I mean, we're human beings in the end, and we're going to wake up, kind of drowsy and, just sleepy. And it's going to take, 1 or 2 hours for you to get back to normal. But that was the fight for me in Beijing, man. Whenever I woke up, like I turned off my alarm and I was like, oh my God, man, I'm not ready. I'm so sleepy. Like this is going to be bad. But just because we put so much pressures on ourselves. But I honestly think it does disturb the performance a little bit. I believe most of us, of course, there are a few swimmers that will say that they swim faster in the morning, but out of the 100% of the swimming community, I would say maybe 80% or more can say they will swim faster at night. And I mean, but this is how professional sports are. You gotta adapt and adjust to what's presented to you. And in the end, you want to touch first. I mean, when it comes to the Olympics, breaking world records is cool and all, but like the 400 guy from where is he from? Tunisia? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't care if he went. If he had gone 349, he would not care, man. I mean, it's touching first that matters when it comes to the Olympics. Now he can go back to his country and maybe break a world record in a state meet. I don't know. Like it doesn't matter. But it is tough to wake up because your mind starts to just look for answers and ways for you to perform, and your body is just not ready. It's just how it works. And in the end, you just really gotta pay attention to your schedule and really plan when to wake up, when to go to the warm-up pool, everything you're gonna do, because it's different than the night. The night, at least for me, I feel way more ready than in the morning. And I think some of the races that we saw would have been faster if they were with the finals at night.
Mm-hmm. One interesting thing that got brought to my attention, and I kind of want to get your take on this, is that one athlete said, I kind of like the morning finals because in that I get to wake up and then just immediately it's go time. And I don't have to wait around all day, you know, maybe swim prelims, but then I don't have to wait around all day and just kind of twiddle my thumbs and then wait for finals. And then finally, okay, now it's go time.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that, Coleman. But at the same time, you had the last day, I mean, the entire afternoon to do nothing. That's the thing. You had the semifinals in the morning, the previous day, then you have lunch. And I remember that in Beijing, man. I went to have lunch after the semis in the 50 Man, I don't know what I ate, honestly. Like I did not taste anything. I was just there, and man, I like my spirit, my thoughts were so far away because I mean I was qualifying to the final in lane 4, and I had a chance to win. And I mean, it was tough to wait until the nighttime for me to go to bed and to do everything. And so it's kind of the same thing. It's just the way some of the swimmers will see, but in the end, you have to wait for the race. You have after the semis, you have to wait for the final. And if it is going to be in the morning, because I remember, in some other meets, even World Championships, like in Rome, where the finals were like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 p.m., something like that. And we had to wait all day for it. I mean, you wake up, you go to breakfast, and you were already nervous. This is how it goes. I mean, not that you're super nervous, but you feel, like a cold stomach and like a little couple of butterflies flying like the entire day. But I felt the same thing in Beijing. I felt the same thing the day before the final. And for me, I didn't see much difference when it came like to the schedule. But as far as like I think it's better that the spread out for 3 days for each race, because it lets the sprinters take more time between races. But it also makes it hard, man, because I mean, every race takes 3 days out of you. So you're going to be swimming fast for, I don't know, 6 or 7 days straight. So, each situation is different and you have to adjust. In the end, you got to go for a best time and find a way to do it.
That was another interesting part is that, I didn't put together until I think after the meet had already ended that it is over the course with night prelims and morning finals. It is over the course of 3 days. It's like prelims on night 1 and then semis on day 2, on morning 2, and then finals on morning 3. Is that obviously you just said it. You just got to find a way to put it together. But that is a point that I hadn't even thought about until just now, really.
Yeah. And also, man, I'm thinking now about McKeon and Caeleb, because in Ledecky and the people that won a bunch of medals. I think the hardest part when it comes to that schedule is that you get out of the finals in the morning with your medal. You're pumped, man. I mean, you won a race, you went to the podium, you were crazy. I mean, you just have energy for days. Mm-hmm. And you have to have lunch and you have to kind of rest as much as you can because you have prelims right after that. So it's almost like I felt that in Beijing for the prelims of the 50 free. I felt like I didn't leave the pool. Like I never left. After the podium in the 100, I was kind of just blinked my eyes and I was like, okay, I'm in the pool again. And because it's so much, man, it's so much goes into that moment of the ceremony, and you're just finishing your final. You're ready to go, man. You're ready to, I don't know, jump from the diving pool, screaming like crazy because you won a medal. And all of a sudden it's just like, okay, I got to rest because I have to swim again. So it's a tough schedule, and it's interesting to see how well those swimmers performed. And even for the 2008 Beijing, I mean, how Michael did it too, because I mean, his schedule was with a 4 a.m., 200 butterfly. So it takes a lot of the mental side, because you start to fight with yourself like, oh my God, you need to rest right now. And you can't rest. And then you start to fight with your head like, oh my God, I'm not resting. Oh, I'm going to swim bad tonight. And just like, no, I'm going to swim well. I'm going to swim well. I'm just going to rest. Oh my God, I can rest. So you keep yourself in that fight. It's insane, man. But you got to control what you can control and respect your body a lot. In the end, this happens if the finals are in the morning or at night. But when they're in the morning, that thing of having the entire afternoon where you're just ready to go, it's not easy too, man.
I don't doubt it. I don't envy anyone who has to make that switch. But again, Cesar, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and offer us your expertise and give us the inside look on the athlete's perspective and on the broadcaster's perspective.
It was a pleasure, man. I think for us in the end, it was, we had a great Olympic Games for the swimming team. Of course, we could have, had better races, as like the 4x1 freestyle, the 4x100 freestyle was tough for us. But the 200 freestyle individual with Fernando was crazy, man. And I remember just sitting down with Gustavo Borges, and he was working in the same TV channel as me. And we saw the final, and we saw the psych sheet, and we were like, man, he's gonna get bronze medal here. And I saw him, he was like, oh my God, I'm thinking the same thing. Like, the race is open. Like, we don't see like a big name like, Dressel or Adam Peaty or, McKeon, or like, we saw the 200 freestyle, like, okay, those are great swimmers, but there's not a lion here. There's nobody that is completely dominating this race. So it's like, if he does swim well, he swam on 145.0 in the prelims, like, he has a 144 in him. If he goes a little bit faster, and that should be enough. And he took advantage of having that crazy Korean guy in lane 7, man. That guy flipped up 49.7 in the 100. I saw that, like on TV. That was the only joke I did on TV. I was like, I can do that. I don't know if I can come back in the second 100, but 49.7 on my feet, like, I can do that for sure. So, but it was an amazing final too, man, where 4 or 5 swimmers were all together in the end. And for us, we are happy, especially with the open water result and Ana Marcela winning at the 10K. So we are in a good position now, man, and we are very pleased that the games actually took place and happened, because it was important for the swimmers, important for the sport, and I hope, man, as a society, we see this as a way to kind of just start talking about other things too, and see that everybody's trying to work, because swimmers and coaches, everybody lost friends and family members and during this COVID pandemic. And some people are talking like, oh man, it's tough to see like such an event. It's like a celebration of the sport. I was like, man, they're like any other businessman, but this is our business. This is how we do business. We swim fast. We go to the pool and swim fast. And everybody went through a very tough time, a very hard time during that last year. And they deserved it, man. The swimmers, especially the swimmers, they deserve to swim. They deserve to compete. And it was beautiful to see a lot of swimmers just reaching their dreams. And now, man, we have only 3 years to Paris, so it's going to go by very fast.
Dude, that's right. Just 3 years to Paris, which I'm excited to see. We've already seen how the 5-year Olympic quad plays out. So I'm excited to see how this 3-year Olympic quad plays out with back-to-back world champs, and then obviously the games following it. So we'll have to bring you on again as it unfolds and get your expertise then.
For sure, man. It would be a pleasure.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.